Oh, that's the wrong scene.
Ah,
There we
the blank
are.
scene.
And why did our chat disappear? Chat box, what are you doing?
That's my favorite of our
Yeah.
streaming bugs.
Welcome to D&D or to Table Talk. I mean, oh goodness, we got a lot of talk today.
It's a lot. Oh my god.
Yeah. But welcome to Table Talk, everyone, where we talk everything tabletop, and boy howdy, do we got some tabletop news today. It's going to be a great day for tabletop in general. I believe this is probably a historic day in tabletop, and we're going to be one of the first channels live to talk about what's going on currently. So buckle up, kids, we're in for a ride. But we're gonna let some people filter in. So Alex, how have you been since last week?
Well, I've been on Twitter a lot more to monitoring the shitstorm. And then as well, working on my own stuff. I finally released my first video after my kind of forced hiatus. And I can already tell the algorithm's a little upset at what I did.
Yeah,
because I made a video on Conrad Kurz who pulls numbers because everyone loves him, but whoo boy, is it slow rolling? But that happens.
That's fair, and yeah, that's just unfortunately when you're a very small channel, it is inevitable that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I also knew from the start, like my shit was just momentum based. Like at like that growth, and the moment it takes a hit, it was gonna take a massive hit. So we'll see how quick it happens to like recover. I'm hoping the next video I have is a good perfect bait to get people to interact with it.
It's all good. I mean, I think you'll be fine.
Oh, I think I will too. It's just how long. Like it's more of a timing thing that I'm wondering. Will it be a thing I can get like fixed soon, or is it gonna be like a few uploads that are gonna be like kind of meh, and then catch up later?
Yeah, I don't know. It really depends. It's hard to say because I live, like, we do content here in a different community, and it's a little bit smaller. Though, that might not be the case for long, as we'll talk about.
That's one of the cool things.
Speaking of, my week was interesting. I just posted a kind of clickbaity title to talk about, to post some OGL footage about what we talked about. Mostly just saying, hey, Pathfinder's fine. The OGL is kind of nonsense. There's a lot of things that is really unenforceable in the new OGL terms that they're going with. Yada, yada, yada. That video is my second most viewed video and will probably be my most viewed video even before maybe today is over, which is a little sad that all the work I put into now gets overshadowed by the OGL news.
That's the game.
That's just it. Shit. I mean, when the whole taking 20 debacle happens, so many channels, No Nat's channel included, got a huge boost just from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
just what happens. It's like, yeah, that's part of the game.
Yeah, you just need some news. But hopefully that means that we got some more eyes on the channel. Though my poor Lancer video did not do well immediately following after. Which is tragic.
It's very sad.
Drama is the lifeblood of content, sadly. Sadly, yes. And I've been doing my best to not overly hype or overly talk about what is going on in the OGL until more news came out. And funny enough, like sent from the heavens, today more news came out when it came to our next table talk. So here we are with some fantastic news. It's very, very, very interesting time for tabletop, and I don't know. I think this is gonna be the dawn of a new era for tabletop. I think especially if Paizo keeps, hitting home runs, coming out with bangers, there's gonna be a huge upset because woof is all I gotta say. Especially with how D&D has responded, and WotC and Hasbro has responded to everything going on, which we will talk about here shortly. But I know people hate this. I remember someone like watched our live OGL news last week. They're like, I hate live content. This is why I never watch live content. It takes them forever to get to the news.
Yeah.
And they messaged that after I posted a video about it, which was just the supercut of what we talked about.
Which is easier to find, and also like, yeah, you're not watching it live. You can skip forward.
Yeah.
You have a little play play thing. You can just fast forward.
Like, I get it, and I understand. You want to just get the information out. You don't like the podcast or whatever in general. Fine. I get that. I get that. I've done that before, for sure. But, you know, if maybe it's a big thing, look at their channel and see if they made a video on it. But, that's too much work for anyone. But we've also been seeing massive growth since the OGL news came out. In this last week alone, I think we got like a boost of like 60 subs.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Pretty insane.
I'm also like, man, I was sad to find that like afterwards I contributed to a like argument I saw and really didn't like, because the reason I put like a correction for myself in that like highlight thing was because I found a TikTok of some guy doom posting about the OGL, talking about how your tabletop game is in threat, D&D's gone, no one can make D&D videos or TikToks anymore, like and then also saying Pathfinder is in like massive threat right now, and there's a chance he'll never be able to talk about or play Pathfinder again. And I was like, all of this is wrong. All this person is doing is trying to like get views by scaring people about just wrong information, and all of it was just incorrect. And then I went back to like that thing. I was like, oh shit, I was actually contributing to it, because the entire argument was, oh, now they own your content. No, they don't, because you're falling under fan content policies, which are a separate thing. Which monitor that if you're worried about your content going away. That's a separate thing from the OGL.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's just like we prefaced at the beginning, we're not professionals, we're not actual lawyers, yada yada.
Oh yeah, we prefaced it, but I also was like, I made the same argument this guy did, and I don't want to be associated with this point, because I thought it's just pointless doom posting. That's all it is. You're trying to get people scared for no reason, so they can like mass like follow your shit. So like, oh, might get lost in a few days. Oh, it's all that a temple is. It makes me it pisses me off. Or
and Panda, are you talking about the D&D Beyond stuff? Because if so, we will be talking about that.
I know the D&D Beyond stuff. I don't know specifically the community post thing. Because I've been seeing it from the Twitter side. That's all I've been seeing, and like waiting for any big updates, because it was rumored that today there Wizards of the Coast is going to make like their response, which it seems like they haven't done.
Oh, this guy.
Here are the top.
What's one on posts? This game is burning one. Or are we talking about on Twitter? In any regard, we'll be talking about everything we know about and anything else that might come out in the short time that we will be here. As today is a fiery day, I'll tell you. But yeah, so I mean, that's the thing, right? Is a lot of people were sensationalizing the OGL stuff, which, I mean, to be fair, when you're a content creator, that is what you do. That's your job. It's work. And I, for one, did benefit from this. Don't get me wrong. Our OGL TableTalk was one of the most viewed TableTalks we've ever had. The OGL video I posted immediately after, of just a supercut of that stream, was a very like my most viewed video at this point, and I'll probably be making some content today based on what's going on. But at the very least, we didn't post a video every day about
No.
the OGL.
And
Though
we
I
also
do have to admit, Roll for Combat did do that, but they also did bring really interesting people on to talk about it, like actual lawyers. David Rancy, I believe, who's one of the people who wrote the initial or helped write the initial. Ryan Dancy. Oh my god, that was some dyslexia right there. Ryan Dancy, who went on yesterday to talk about, or not yesterday, it was a couple days ago, to talk about being one of the original architects of the 2000 OGL.
Which, like, that at least is good content to make on it. And I feel like ours, at least in our attempt, was a bit more, I don't know, ethical in that sense. We weren't trying to terrify people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't. That's what I hate about profiting off.
Was like, hey guys, here's what we know. We're dumb people like the rest of you, I hope. You know, and so we're gonna give it the best explanation we can for people. And also, Pathfinder's fine, and, you know, at worst, it's the small party content creators who were at risk. And that was it. And I didn't want to make anything else on it because I didn't want to overly talk about the OGL. There really wasn't much more on the OGL. Rather than, you know, me just coming on to talk about, oh, here's what Roll for Combat said. Here's what Roll for Combat said. Because they have been making some pretty banger videos on the OGL stuff pretty much every day. But, we've been seeing a lot, and I'm reading the chat here, and you guys post a lot, Jesus. Yeah, everyone was pretty sure that they were gonna do something today, but they haven't yet, and they probably won't, which is probably the smart thing for them to do, honestly.
It's the very smart thing to do. Because, like, for most big moments of, like, of controversy, one of the strongest, like, things you can do is just ignore it, and then eventually people will forget.
Yeah.
That's the move, and that's like there's that leaked email that's going around. No clue if it's true, but I still think the message is like pretty true. Because I think I'm pretty sure I said this last stream as well. The OGL will not be revoked in any fashion unless they take a legitimate hit to their revenue. If people are just going to move past it once the new shiny thing comes out, then the OGL is just going to be under threat, like, already. Like, nothing's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing as well, and that's a big part. Like, all this orc news and everything that's been coming out is really good. That doesn't mean that D&D still can't make hell for 6th edition when it comes out. Or 1 D&D, whatever you want to call it. Because they have every right to make a license for their game. And that might directly affect people making content specifically for that game. What is Roll for Combat subs today? I'm very curious now. But the email does look pretty legit, and honestly, for as much sales as I've done in the past, because I've worked a lot of sales jobs in the past, hey, ENH, thanks for the sub. Oh, holy shit, yeah. Oh my god, Roll for Combat.
What were they before?
They were about 7.7 last I saw, and this was still well after a lot of their news. They're at 11K today.
Yeah, I mean, the contract lawyer explains new OGL, 85K. That's
yeah.
Damn,
I mean,
good for them.
They've been hitting pretty hard. I think they've been doing a little much, but obviously you can't argue with the results, right? And this is kind of I think the situation where I find myself is 5.4K early on with this. Yeah, I think they're at the 6K range somewhere. I'm pretty sure because I've been keeping my eyes on the numbers. Yeah, I mean, and see, this is the thing, right? Is I didn't want to overly talk about it because one, here at Battle of Gamer, we're about tabletop gaming. We're not about news. News is relevant when it's relevant to tabletop, and we did talk about it when it came up, and we didn't have anything else. Roll for Combat made ad nauseum content, doing stream after day after day after day after day, but they also did bring a lot of stuff in. They brought their lawyer, and they brought in Ryan Dancy. They talked even with like a variety of other people. It's, yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. Exactly. And that's the thing, right? We just don't have those same resources, so we don't, you know, I feel like even though they've done a lot for my taste, I feel like they did it in the best way possible. So don't take this as a shot at Roll for Combat. Take this as a shot at those many other OGL farming channels that have been making tons of OGL content, saying the same thing over and over again, because we've all seen them. We all know those channels. And that would have been our channel if we had done that.
Yeah, because at least they can bring, like, and make interesting content about it, have different takeaways, have actual, like, I guess more important news about it.
Yeah.
And for us, it'd just be like, Twitter said this about the OGL.
Yeah. Literally every day would have been me going, all right, what did Roll for Combat say today?
Yeah, God, it would have been annoying.
You know, and I don't need to be like a barnacle on their back suckling content. We don't need that. We can do just fine with what we got. And we got a lot today. And a lot today is not a Roll for Combat content, actually. It's Paizo content specifically, plus a lot of other content companies, I guess, in the same space, like Kobold Press. Yeah, they do have an ungodly amount of connections in the industry. It's actually, after having meeting both of them at PaizoCon this last year, I could say for a fact that there's not many people much more connected than they are in the industry. It's really insane, which is why they were the ones who were like really coming out with the content as its header. So I believe they've deserved everything they've got. They've definitely pumped these numbers very well. I do feel bad because I don't think this will carry on for them. I feel like they're gonna go back to the way they were immediately after, with not really much momentum after this, because people are only coming for the OGL news, and that's about it. So I hope a lot of people do come and stay and watch their content. They do make really good content.
They're also great people. Like, I've only spoken to Mark, but like, super cool dude. I would love to just talk to him more. I can see why he has so many connections, even if it's just like the position he's in what he does and like what his job is. Just that he's very personable.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I talked for Mark for about 3 hours at PaizoCon, just standing around, and it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed talking with him a lot, and we got to have him on the channel too, which is
still one of my favorite table talks we've done.
It's really good.
I thought that was super fun.
I do hope that hopefully this will open us up to some cross content creators as well. I really want to talk with the world builder guy. Oh my goodness, I forgot his name. I want to say it's Dan, but I don't think it's Dan. He does like the world building. He does a lot of like the let's test to see how rations work kind of videos.
I don't think I've ever stumbled across that content.
I like his content a lot, and so I'd love to get to talk to him. Oh, there's a lot of people, you know, in the cross space I would love to get to talk with, and it's also just good news for Pathfinder in general, as Pathfinder is getting a spike in interests as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, increase the numbers for Pathfinder. A lot of people are jumping ship. I hope that stays. I hope people actually do consider trying out other games from this, because that's cool and important, and we can play other games. Something we've long since talked about. And I also just tried to open the Paizo article and the website's not working.
And yeah, Zoran. Oh my god. Imagine we could ever talk to Zoran.
I adore that man.
I would love to talk with Zoran on stream at some point. Yeah, Bob World Builder. He's so good with his content, and he's been one of the better, I think, content creators in this area as well, talking about it. I do feel bad about Jacob from XP to level 3, because he's a huge D&D stan, and he knows everything is bad right now. And yo, Zoran, there he is. And like, he's someone who has been very, very successful making D&D content, and so all this, I imagine, has to be hard, especially because he was a huge D&D stand in general. So, you know,
if any content creator is gonna get hit, isn't he like the biggest 5e YouTuber?
I do think he's the biggest. That's not Critical Role, technically. We can post that article if we want. We have it available. We have the Gizmodo and the blog post.
I have the link to the Paizo one. I just tried to open it, not working. They also tweeted recently that their servers are taking a good hit for good reason.
Their website was never designed for more than like 100 people at a time. I know from my various purchases. You can do the Gizmodo.
I will have to hunt that down.
I'll
just send it to me real quick. I'll also send the Paizo one just in case it starts working.
But unfortunately, we don't allow the posting of links because the sheer amount of sex robots that come on and just post stuff.
Yeah,
it's crazy how a channel that has like 20 people on it still get that kind of stuff.
That's why I'm the link guy.
But yeah, we got a lot, and we, as we said last time, we need to have the utmost in sympathy for everyone who loves D&D, who is affected by this, because it is a pretty terrible event. There's a Gizmodo.
Oh yeah, I found it. It was the one.
Sorry, that's what I was saying. Is as you posted it there.
Yeah, I thought there was a different one maybe, but no, I read this one this morning.
But you know, utmost sympathy. We should stand by our fellow D&D players as well. As much as we give shit to D&D here on the channel, you know, it's all in good fun. Both of us play D&D as well, and it's just something that we need to keep. This is all. We need to be angry at the bigwigs. We don't need to be angry at the D&D. So
yeah, it's always really like sad and like awful when a thing you really love, put a lot of time and effort into, is being like hijacked by some like just corporate greed, and then everyone just starts being like, that thing you love is bad now. And also like the people who go like, told you 5e was bad. It's like, this isn't the time.
Yeah,
they can join other games. You can let them know other games exist. That's fine, but you know, don't shame somebody for liking 5e now that they're considering playing something else. Instead, just be an actual cool community that's like, welcome. Here's the games we have on offer.
All right, so we're about 30 minutes in. Let's talk about what we know. Man, there's so many places where to start.
There's so many.
Let's talk about what Wizards has done or not done today. How about that? So today, there's been a couple leaks of information, and to be fair, we'll state everything as clearly as I can, which won't help the dumb people who will watch this after the fact anyway.
Oh, you know what? Just for that sake, because are you going to make a highlight of this stream?
We probably will.
I would like to say this very loud and clear. We do not support Wizards of the Coast. I don't know how you can make that, like, this conclusion after watching us. We don't like this. We don't support it. All right, cool. There you are.
All right, there we go. I'll put that as a disclaimer.
Yeah. God, that I was like laughing really hard when I saw that comment on your other one. Like,
But
we're Wizard of the Coast shills.
exactly, yeah, us here at this
Mhm.
channel.
Cut to like
But
every single like time we've shit on 5e.
yeah,
It's
every
like
table
over an
talk
hour long
talk about
compilation.
how their potion rates are absurd.
Yeah, 50
Wizards
gold pieces.
bleeding us for our potions. Jesus.
Yeah.
But like, all right, so let's put a disclaimer. Nothing officially has ever come out from Wizards on any of this. No official statements have been claimed. Everything is based on, well, good source, well sourced, and probably accurate. Still, these are all leaks. Nothing was officially released. Wizards has not made any official announcements, and thus everything is speculative.
Yeah.
But we do know that they did have scheduled on the D&D Beyond Twitch channel a 7 a.m. OGL 2.0 facts stream that they have promptly taken down.
But not like it was just like back-end scheduling issues, Cam. It wasn't anything else.
Just scheduling issues. Yeah, OGL hasn't said anything. The rumor was that it was supposed to be coming out tomorrow, and that's probably not going to happen now. The email leaks are saying that they are completely putting off everything about the OGL due to internet backlash, and their hopes are that they just keep quiet long enough and they don't mention it, that they can slide it in at a later date after all this hype and fire has died down a bit. In fact, let me pull up the email in question, and in fact, you know, that is the same email that the D&D Shorts guy posted on his community tab.
Yeah. And like I'm as someone who, it's only because I was big in like Smash community for a while. Like so I have a very like iffy trust of leaks. I don't trust most leaks. Even if this isn't from an actual like Wizards of the Coast employee, this is the correct move. Because this is the thing that would actually change something, not how dare you Wizard of the Coast on Twitter. Because that changes nothing.
Yeah.
You hit someone in their wallet, they'll change. So, great move. Unconcerned how true it is. Like, from an actual, like, employee, I guess.
Yeah. Hi, I'm an employee at Wizards of the Coast, currently working on D&D Beyond and with the D&D business leads on the health of the product line. If you want, I can provide proof of this. I'm sending this message because I fear the health of the community I love, and I know what the leaders at WotC are looking at. They're briefly delaying rollout of OGL changes due to the backlash. Their decision making is based entirely on the provable impact to their bottom line. And specifically, they're looking at D&D Beyond subscriptions and cancellations as it is the quickest financial data they currently have. They are still hoping the community forgets, moves on, and they can still push through this. I've decided to reach out because at my time in WotC, I have never once heard management refer to customers in a positive manner. Their communication gives me the impression they see customers as obstacles between them and their money. The D&D Beyond team was first told to prepare to support the new OGL changes and online portal when they get back from the holidays, and leadership doesn't take any responsibility for the pain and stress they cause others. Leadership's first communications to the rank and file on the OGL was 30 minutes on the 11th of this month. So that was about a week ago, right? No, yesterday. That was yesterday. 30 minutes yesterday. This was the first time they even tried to communicate their intentions about the OGL to their employees, and even in this meeting, they blame the community for overreacting. I will repeat, the main thing this leadership is looking at is D&D Beyond subscription cancellations. Hope your day goes well. Ever since this has come out, surprisingly or unsurprisingly, D&D Beyond cancellations have been massive. So much so, the site crashed, and thus the unsubscribe button has moved or has been difficult to hit. And we can't say whether they've done anything to affect this. It could just be the sheer amount of people, unsubscribing at this time. But there's some fishy stuff going on with D&D Beyond. And it is true, D&D Beyond is one of their most clear line thoroughputs for their selling D&D content, as it is their online resource where you can buy books, do everything like that. Excuse me. And thus, we have the new great hashtag. And by the way, I gotta say, as terrible as WotC and D&D are, they come out, or at least other people come out with some banger hashtags about them. We have the new hashtag D&D Begone.
Whoever's coming up with these, fucking 10 out of 10, dude. These are real clever.
Exactly. And everyone knows that what they're doing. And right, so there has to be some level of truth to everything that's been coming out, because D&D has today and probably tomorrow. Why? Because the leaks were probably true. If they weren't, D&D would just come out and pop their collar and be like, guys, look, this is what we had going on. Everything has been a lie. It's right here. If this was a true, honest company that was working in the player's best interest, they could have done that with ease, made everyone look the fool. It's kind of like the Bayonetta situation when the voice actress came out and said she got a quarter of what she was actually paid and tried to make a big hubbub about it, and just lied to everyone, and everyone was super on her side, and then suddenly got dunked on when it was proved that she was lying. WotC could have done the same. They could have
immediately spin it.
Turnaround.
Immediately spin it to a good PR move. Be like, you can immediately make a statement of, we would never do this. And then people be like, yeah, that's my company. I'll give them more money.
Yeah, Dev Phoenix, we'll take a look at that. Thanks for the layup.
Yeah, it is specifically the tweet of the website's down, but here's what the article is. Very helpful, thank you.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So that's for that one, yeah, okay.
I'll also post it in the chat.
But everyone knows it. Everyone sees what's going on. Even their own top content creators are seeing what's going on. And this is the thing about big corporate people that they don't seem to understand, is that the people they should be trying to get on their side the most are their content creators, their influencers. Because they haven't been generating good faith with them, they haven't been in any kind of communication or whatsoever, they're coming out and talking about it as well. Big corporations don't respect things like YouTube. They don't respect things like Twitter, everything like that. And it shows, painfully so, because their numbers are always impacted by these things. And if they just had a good community, connection, this would not be the case. So I will say, I truly believe that the OGL information was mostly accurate, or at least its intent, and thus they had nothing to come out with. They had no new version of the OGL that they could slap at people, and thus they decided not to mention anything at all. And they're just hoping that people continue playing D&D and that everything will be fine. But not everything will be fine, because everyone's caught on to the corporate greed. And with the whole Magic the Gathering debacle, literally months ago now.
Which I actually don't know what happened with that. I heard people talking about that.
I've heard some people talking about it.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know either, actually. I just know that there was a pretty big one. But I will say, because of this, they're gonna lay low for the time to come. And this is exactly what Paizo and a variety of other corporations like Legendary Games, Kobold Press, Roll for Combat, because they are also a content creator, third-party content creator, and everything have been striking while the iron is hot, and they are now creating a new open RPG content license, or the ORC, or creation, I think it's creation, not content, license, which will be a new version of the OGL that is being this time not made single-handedly by one corporation, but by a variety of others. And Paizo has put their wallet on the table and said that they are financially willing to go to court to make this ORC a real thing. And we can only be thankful that we have such an amazing company like Paizo out there who is really fighting for its community. It has been a massive thing. Pathfinder 2E has been getting a lot of new information and a variety of content creators. In fact, I just see a tweet here by D&D Shorts, actually, who's talking about all this as well. And it's just impressive how Paizo was ready to strike at this. And most of Paizo's like top brass, I think almost all of them, are available on Twitter. I see them chatting all the time. They are in with the community. I mean, as a small corporation that's not Hasbro, they kind of have to be, right, to be competitive. And this has just been their strength moving forward. Also, the many corporations like Cobalt Press, who, you know, was also like getting ready to release their own system agnostic version of D&D 5e, pretty much. All coming in to step up where Wizards of the Coast has dropped the ball. And here from our newscaster Lintholium, we got some Magic the Gathering news. Wizards has, since their time of being moved in, being a main unit of Hasbro, began flooding our sets while also raising prices. They also started releasing an ever-increasing number of premium sets. The big one, that they released to great fanfare, a 30th anniversary set that contained 4 packs of 15 cards. So for a whopping 60 cards, which is enough to make one deck, for $1,000.
Excuse me?
And those cards are not even legal in their organized play. Now, if anyone has played Magic the Gathering, these were the cards like Black Lotus. If anyone knows anything about Magic the Gathering, Black Lotus is a super infamous card.
Yeah.
Very, very, it's a card that sells for thousands itself.
Even I know that one. I don't even play Magic. I know that one.
Everyone who knows everyone's just like, Black Lotus. People who don't even play Magic the Gathering, never touched it, know the Black Lotus card. Was one of the cards released in this set.
I've seen game stores with a Black Lotus, hollow Black Lotus, in a display case. That kind of shit with a giant price tag. That's why I know it. That is... What the fuck? What?
And apparently, as so says Dagon Righteous here, Watson even got a Yu-Gi-Oh player to do a pack opening stream because all the Magic the Gathering content creators refused to promote the product.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Oh
my god.
And thus, we have here just another huge spot. And see, the thing is, right? Not gonna lie, I was quite stressed out by this whole OGL 1.1, but Paizo's response is both reassuring, they don't need OGL. Yeah, they don't really need it, they just posted it because they had some spells that were the same name, like Magic Missile, and encouraging. Yeah, I'm glad, and that's the thing, right? That's why we're here. We're also wanting to reassure people. Last time we talked about the OGL, we talked about vaguely what it is, that they didn't really have much legal ground to stand on, and that Pathfinder 2E was pretty unassailable. I was wrong in that stream. I did say that Pathfinder has its own OGL. They don't. They were all using just the old OGL because it was apparently a multi-product kind of licensing, I guess, from my understanding. And so I was incorrect in my statement there, though I was correct in my statement of they didn't need it. They put it there because Pathfinder First Edition had some stuff, and they have some spells that are like the same name, yada yada. So there were enough connections where it warranted putting it in, but it was a pretty safe donation. And thank you for the donation there for the super chat. Do not want to, which the super chat I don't see. Let me pull up the YouTube real quick.
I see it right here, but oh yeah, because I'm on the YouTube. That's why.
Seen the Core D20 system at Core D20.ca. I have not. Core D20 system at Core D20.ca. I have not. Oh, there it is. It just put. It takes a minute because apparently Streamlabs doesn't like YouTube for some reason. But there it is. That's a super chat as well. I have not seen that. So you want to post where you can find that? I'm going to have to look at it.
Yeah, I can pull it up and provide links if you tell me where to search for it.
But yeah, so right, everything that pretty much happened. Yeah, the OGL was also the way Paizo allowed others to use and publish their system, because it was kind of like how open game licenses typically work is that whenever you make something using someone else's content, you don't own that content, but other people can use your content as well, as long as they're not breaching your copyrights, like everything like that. So yeah, there's a lot, right? And Wizards of the Coast did not have to do nearly any of this to make money. All Wizards of the Coast had to do, literally, was just make more books. Make more books, make more, like mini figurine sets, make more things players can take to the table, make new peripherals. They have the money, but they didn't care because they don't think D&D makes enough money, which they mentioned in a post a while ago saying that D&D was under-monetized. Yeah, because you didn't make shit to monetize. It's surprising that we didn't make money on this.
We're making money, but we did nothing to make us money. What's going on?
What's going on? Well, might as well ring out our subscription-based character creator app.
God. Yeah, it's the decision between the executives. Do you want to hire more people and develop more books, spend the money in this front to make more money, or do you want to press this button and we'll make lots of money? And that was probably the pitch.
And definitely, like, I would say that the original OGL, I don't think people actually think there's anything wrong with the old OGL, because everyone's just been talking about them killing and revoking the old OGL. So I don't think there's anything with that necessarily. And I do agree, it was well written and designed. And even people have said that, you know, the lead architect said it was not meant to be revocable. So we even talked about that last week and we weren't sure. And that was essentially the intent written behind it. Yeah. And so this is kind of and video games had the same thing. And this is something that I kind of want to go back to as well as like my general stance that all in all, when it comes to video games sold really, really well. And then they started doing shittier and shittier practices, making more and more half-baked games. And eventually that's what brought light to the indie scene, Steam. And now, with all these indie games coming out, making lots of money, these new IPs coming out, making lots of money, and also legal battering. Battering makes it sound like it's not earned. Legal punishments. Many large gaming corporations have gotten a little bit more in line. as they can't really do the same shitty things anymore. And Wizards of the Coast, they're just going through their turn, right? They're just there. They get Hasbro's a little big in the scene. They're like, oh, look at this IP we bought so long ago. Isn't it the biggest in all tabletop? Man, it seems like we have a monopoly here. Winks in Hasbro because they own Monopoly. So let's go ahead and just squeeze them dry and not give them anything. And so they come out with D&D 5e. While being a fun system, I think it's pretty half-baked, honestly. It has a lot of just nothing in the rules for helping the DM in a lot of situations. And it was just, like, as a beginner game to tabletop, I could see it, sure. A little bit. You play it, like, a few times. But after that, it gets a lot more hard to play D&D because there's just nothing out there. And in the, 8 years? 9 years? How long has 5th edition been out? They have not produced... They produced one book that aids the rules somewhat, which was Tasha's Cauldron.
Yeah. And then the other, like, the two notable books released by 5e is Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's. And, like, that's kind of it. The rest are just, like, adventures. And half of them aren't even that good.
Yeah. For real. And the thing is, right, they didn't have to do this. Paizo comes out with bangers year-round. Multiple books. Multiple really good adventure paths. Expanding the system. Even their adventure paths are adding to the number of ancestries you get to, archetypes you have access to, everything. They didn't have to do it this way. And now they're paying the price. And I hope more people go to Pathfinder and look into Paizo. I'm not saying this as one of the content creators in the field. I'm saying this as someone who genuinely loves tabletop and wants a better company heading the sales at the lead of what's going on. Now, despite all of this, I still don't think Paizo's even going to be in competition for D&D as far as money is being made. I think despite everything that's happening, people are still going to play D&D 5e.
Yeah.
People are still going to make content for them. Everything is going to remain the same because we all need to understand that there's a lot of people who absolutely love D&D 5e. They've invested their heart and soul into it. And something like this is not going to be enough until, Hasbro comes kicking in their door and ruining their life, which is sad.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still play 5e, and, like, I'll stop when 5e kicks my door in and is like, hey, give me $20 for playing 5e right now. I'd be like, no, fuck you. But, like, instead it might just be a thing where people are playing 5e stuff, and just maybe they're going to be giving the company less money, or at least trying to. Because, like, you can still play 5e with the stuff you got. You're just going to have to deal with the fact that, like, no new content's going to come out. However, that's kind of the norm for 5e, to be completely honest.
Right. Because it's all been adventure paths. And you know what the thing is, right? People still loved their adventure paths. My fiance has bought several after we switched to Pathfinder and don't play D&D, just because she loves the books, she loves the ideas. She's bought several of the Kickstarters based around D&D 5e. We don't play D&D 5e in this house, but we still have their products. I mean, not like I don't run any games or anything. I still play occasionally here and there, but you know what I mean. We predominantly don't. And they didn't have to do it this way. Pathfinder is Paizo in general, but Pathfinder specifically 2E comes out with new books all the time. I'm going to tell you all right now. Next month, Treasure Vault comes out. I'm going to do my best to get in as many good graces to try to get some early review copies and make some item-based content for Pathfinder, because I know a lot of you out there are looking for more videos on what kind of items to get to your characters, top 5 item builds, yada yada yada, all that kind of stuff. I know that's what a lot of you have been looking for, and my top 5 weapon rune video did really well because of that. So I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna work really hard like I did with Dark Archive to come out and make as much content that you are all looking for with Treasure Vault. Not only that, but we will also be making a new Why This Class is Awesome in June or July, somewhere in that range, when the Rage of Elements book comes out, where they're releasing the Kineticist, and I'm sure they're also going to be releasing some new archetypes along with that as well, that I will be taking a look at here on the channel and providing all the content that you guys have all come to love as well. I'm very proud of the fact that most of our Why This Class is Awesome class videos are on the top 5 of most of the classes besides Fighter and Rogue, because for some reason those videos did very poorly. But I'm going to be making a lot of Pathfinder content, and I was going to do this regardless of this OGL nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, we started as like doing Pathfinder stuff mainly, and now shifting over to just general tabletop stuff, but Pathfinder's like the shit.
Yeah, and I'm also going to be out there making content on new systems as well. We're doing Lancer content, and I'm very excited about Lancer. Lancer is such a great game. I feel like more people need to be watching content on Lancer, and so my job is to get into at least top 5, top 10 content creators for Lancer content. And then we'll be moving on to Vampire the Masquerade, and
so
we'll
excited
be
for that.
doing that one as well. We are going to be working really hard here to give people more places to go, because I feel like tabletop needs to be more of a Neapolitan style dish. Have your 3, 4, or 5 core games that you play regularly, dip into here and there. Tabletop is something where you can go out and explore many new types of IPs, new games. It's like video games. It's just like someone who's been playing World of Warcraft forever and is just like, man, if only there were other games out there. Like, we don't need D&D, right? You can play other games.
I like that. Yeah, is 5e half-baked, or is that shit just raw? Did they even cook it?
Fucking Gordon Ramsay's walking up to Hasbro just like, this thing is fucking raw.
It's raw. Oh,
It
yeah,
should be noted that player-facing rules for Lancer are completely free.
Completely free.
And player-facing content is completely free for Pathfinder 2e as well, with Archive of Nephis. There are, and despite this, right, also, Pathfinder-facing content is free. Paizo has a whole website, well, it's not even run by Paizo, but it's officiated by Paizo, where you can find all the rules for free. And they are still the second largest company when it comes to making fantasy-related content. Unless you count, I guess, all of White Wolf, because White Wolf owns a lot of tabletop. It may be Fantasy Flight. I'd have to actually check those numbers.
Fantasy Flight makes a lot of games. There's so many times where I hear Fantasy Flight and I'm like, damn, they published that?
Yeah. So I would have to say, I don't know the numbers exactly, but I will say that Paizo owns at least one of the largest IPs in tabletop. How about that? We'll make a concession on that. That when it comes to tabletop IPs, theirs is the second largest. Pathfinder is huge. Starfinder is also really good if you do enjoy the older version of Pathfinder rules. And all their stuff is free. And they still do really, really well. I have no idea who Palladium Books even is. Someone I'll have to check into for sure. Don't think... There's some interesting information here.
Do they? Do they own TMNT? Yo, that's wild.
Yeah, 5e is like leftover salad. They picked bits of their old stuff, the good bits from their old stuff, started into Miracle Whip and called it good. Yeah. They could even spring for Hellman's. But there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into tabletop in general, and whether or not Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro might think this, they may have started a second renaissance of tabletop. they may have created for themselves a big exodus of players who are now being filtered out into the rest. It's a whale fall we talked about last week of content creation and in third-party content with other games, and this new orc business that we got going on, Paizo putting their wallet on the line and saying they're going to go to court for us, is, I think, exactly what Tabletop needed at this point in time. And we got so much good stuff just baking in the back. And not only that, but we had so much good stuff already. People didn't realize, but there were some banger games out there. For real. Lancer, Vampire the Masquerade were some of my favorites from last year that we looked into. There are still so many more that I want to look into. We are, for the time being, putting on hold looking into some other game systems, because now we're instead doing some deep dives into some tabletop games, because I feel like that is more valuable overall. But if the channel grows to a point where I can start, you know, like hiring editors to look into more stuff, I might do monthly check-ins on new game systems again at some point. But for now, we're going to do some deep dives into some tabletop content like Lancer or whatever. I'm going to make a good chunk of videos for that. Then we'll move on to the next one, and the next one will be the true variety tabletop channel, where it's not where we just have the snippets. We're not going to be the sampler channels that you see everywhere. We're going to be the channels you go to when you want to have meals from across the globe, right? Where you can go in and be like, okay, I want to get into this game, and we'll have the content there for you to get into that game. That's the goal. And thank you. Yeah, we will have to do some Wild Sea. It's been brought up so many times, and I really do want to get into it. I've not willingly avoided it, I will remind you. I am just saying that I am... I've decided to move the channel in a direction that I feel is healthier for us, but is also healthier for the tabletop community in general, which is to proliferate more tabletop out there. And doing it in a way where people are not looking up 5-year-old videos on how to play certain games. And doing my best to provide it in a way that's very easy for people to look into. And we'll be doing Pathfinder content as well, because Pathfinder is a great game. And I love Pathfinder, and I don't want to just get over Pathfinder, so...
I still think the Vampire the Masquerade stuff's the things I'm most excited for.
More than Lancer?
I love Lancer. I absolutely love it. I just think, like, UDMing a VTM game would be hype.
That's fair.
Mr. Like, I really like just high narratives, and like I really want narrative combat. Just pointing at Vampire.
Right.
Yeah, that's why. I think you'd do it very well. And I'm also very proud of my character that I have for VTM.
That's fair.
I think he's super fun, and he fulfills a role I think is really interesting.
But yeah, so if any of you have any questions about going on, I know the chat has been popping off on the D&D side of things, or on the D&D, on the YouTube side of things. So if any of you have questions or anything you want to bring up, feel free to ask. We'll do our best to source what information that we've already gathered up until this point. We're also keeping an eye out as well for a variety of things that may be coming up. And also, I do highly recommend that if you want us to be your source of, like, content for the treasure vault and everything coming up, shout out this channel on, like, Twitter and the like. Get our name out there so that we get more a little recognition, because as of right now, we're barely recognized in the area. The more people we get talking about us, the better that'll be for us. The sooner we can get content out to you guys in the style that hopefully you guys prefer, because that is the goal after all. What's our thoughts on easy versus skilled PC building systems? I think they're different for they're different for different purposes. I think tabletop games that have a very easy character creation, that goes into more like a narrative style, like Blades in the Dark, for instance, are really good for short form play, hopping in with your friends, introducing people to the hobby and the like, versus Skilled, which is like a lot more nuanced, more depth. It's for the people who really do enjoy it. It's like board games, right? It's like people like Monopoly, people like Stop, if people even remember what that game is, or
I don't even know what that game is.
Candyland or whatever. But there's also people who love games like Arkham Horror and everything like that. And there's just different time, and it's also different like amounts of mental energy as well. Sometimes you're not like at 100% and you don't want to put yourself into a game that forces you to strategize.
Lancer the Masquerade.
Lancer the Masquerade.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, Streamlabs is having a hard time keeping up with the chat. Yeah, I see the little bit of it there.
Imagine. That would be a fun
Jeffrey,
crossover.
I will say, Crunchy Games still exists. They're still out there. So I don't think you need to stress too much. There's plenty out there that are a lot more in-depth. But it is better for the hobby overall to inject new people into it as much as possible. And that is done through games that are a little bit more straightforward, a little bit easier. And
it's also fun. I, as a crunch hater, I don't like builds. They're annoying. I don't like theory crafting a character. I like making a character that I want to play and role play as in a game. And so when the game is just like, you mishandled your builds, you are garbage now. It's like, well, damn. This is what my character would be in the world, though. I like games that are just like, you're playing your character true to who they are with the powers that they have. You're on par with others. I feel like Pathfinder's like that. I feel like you have to really try to make something super shitty in Pathfinder.
True. It's still possible.
It's still possible, but it feels a lot more like
it's a lot harder. After playing Anima Beyond Fantasy, Anima Beyond Fantasy is so easy to make a character who's just completely neutered, who can't do anything.
It's way too easy. It's all about that narrative.
And
I don't care if I'm good.
Welcome. Yeah, narrative games and narrative characters are it's just what kind of games you want to play, and that's the thing, right? Tabletop doesn't need to be something that's about one thing or another, right? You can like your narrative games and prefer them. I did not like Blades in the Dark that much, honestly. I think the world is interesting. I think the setting is fantastic. I really do like it, but I feel like the game was just a little too loose for me, personally. But there's a lot of people out there who love it. And Lancer has an interesting hybrid system where all the outside of mech combat stuff is just loose narrative play. You make a 50-50 or slightly better if you're skilled for it check, and you can do like almost anything. And then you get the hardcore mech combat, which is tabletop strategy. That's completely like, if you've played any battle games, plays exactly like that.
Yeah, it is like war gamey in that part I like. I also find it interesting because on the flip side, like if I was like, put in the position like you have to DM something, Alex, you have to DM a game. I would 100% do Blades of the Dark because I like how loose it is. I like how loosey goosey. I like that the flashback systems and like, oh yeah, we prepared for this, and it's like, oh cool, we didn't have to have an extended shopping session for them to plan for every like conceivable notion that like you would have to plan for. I like that. I like that it just jumps you into the good shit. And also I like that it's just kind of like, you do what you want, DM. And I'm like, hell yeah, thank you. I was gonna do that anyways. But yeah, it's all at the end just different tastes. Meanwhile, also, it's just the other thing that I have the perspective that at the end of the day, a tabletop game is a game, so people should just have fun with it. Whatever makes the table have fun is good.
Yeah, and like, the thing is about this as well is like people can argue about the dynamics of tabletop all they want, right? But we can all exist in the same space.
Yeah.
We don't need to be. It's just like, if you're playing a game that you thoroughly enjoy and you're upset because more people are playing another game, that problem's on you. It's not on them, because they're playing what they like. And it's not that they don't get it. It's not that they're not looking it or they're doing it wrong. They just enjoy something differently than you do. You can enjoy what you like too. And there's plenty of people out there. I personally do like some level of crunch in my games. I think Pathfinder's a really good, Pathfinder's a really good level of crunch for me personally, because even though it is hard to make bad characters in Pathfinder 2e, which I think is a good thing, it's a game that's so nuanced still that the types of characters you can make and the kinds of things you can do are so varied that despite how hard it is to make good characters in Pathfinder 2e, it is also incredibly easy in Pathfinder 2e to make vastly different characters.
That's the part that's so hype about it. But I mean, it's something that we're about to hit in 40k soon. It's the massive upkeep of gatekeeping. I hope that doesn't happen with.
It's already been happening. Right, it's been happening in Pathfinder, in tabletop. It's been happening in Pathfinder. Pathfinder 1e players think that Pathfinder 2e Feat Finder, they call it, is too casual and not grindy enough, and both games can be played.
Yeah, you can have fun with your thing. I fucking obviously massive cold take right here. Gatekeeping is cringe and dumb, and I hate all forms of it. It's just annoying where it's like, you're playing the game wrong, and it's like, who fucking cares? Why do you care so much? Warhammer's about to get hit with it really bad once whatever thing, actual shows being worked on, is announced. It's already kind of ramping up. And it's also I also don't like it because at least on the opposite side of the gatekeeping for Pathfinder, the side where I'm not in it, it's not like the good old days. Yeah, I fucking hate the good old days of whatever they're talking about with their yeah, I remember when tabletop was a meat grinder and we had 50 characters. That sounds annoying. That sounds annoying and dumb, and I wouldn't get into that. I like making a character, not 50 builds. I just want to play the story.
I will say, on the contrary to that, if that's what you like, go at it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think people who want a more intense, more hardcore style tabletop should have that. It's kind of like EVE Online, right? EVE Online is a really good, old, pretty space MMO in a way, and it is for a certain subset of people. It is not for me, but there's a lot of people out there who absolutely love EVE Online and go to conventions, all that kind of stuff, and I think that's awesome. I think the people and the stories that they've been able to tell has been really cool, and it can only be done by people who are the spreadsheet warriors that are the EVE Online players. Yeah. And if there's a tabletop version of that, I think that's good too. I think that's completely fine. I do like a lot more difficulty in my tabletop, to the chagrin of my players sometimes, because I like making some kind of harder encounters, but I always do so with the intent that they're gonna beat it, because I know their builds. And but that's the thing, I do like more intense stuff. I do like I do want a system that feels like the power you get with your character is earned and not given to you. But I acknowledge and I account for the fact that not everyone is that into it, that not everyone is that into the difficulty scaling or the intensity of something like that. And so, again, Pathfinder 2e I think is just the perfect set where it is. The game is dynamic enough where every time I make a character, they are different, they're diverse, and they're interesting. But no one gets left behind because the system helps you. Because there's really no bad way, unless, of course, you are intentionally making very bad decisions.
What if you made a video where you made a build video on the worst possible build in Pathfinder? Make a character that can do nothing.
That would be very hard, honestly.
That's
that
why
would
I
be
think
a challenge video.
I think it'd be interesting. Make the least effective build. Though I will say, it was mentioned a little earlier, Panda, like, Warhammer's hype. I absolutely adore it. Unless you're very determined to spend a lot of time in 40k, like, don't try it. It's an investment to really, really get into it. You can like it on the surface level, but just know that for everything you learn, there are 5 levels deeper that you could go on that topic. And that's what I do. That's what I enjoy. But then you also get in positions where you're taking in no other content other than 40k for the past, like, 6 years.
Yeah, Puff Before is made absurd in D&D 5e.
Yeah.
Which was funny.
Yeah, that's a really fun idea. Just make a character that's just kind of shit, but like scaled up to a high level. 40k is future. The current fantasy setting is Age of Sigmar, and then there's the old world Warhammer Fantasy, which is gone, but they're trying to revive it in some way. And then that's a Death Bowl, Blood Bowl. It's Blood Bowl, which honestly is kind of fun. I'm into the rules. I think the rules are really interesting. And yeah, I guess 40. I think 40k was early. No, fantasy came first, then 40k. Which then it was just Rogue Trader back in the day.
Oh, a character with all the dedications that are useless. Yeah, we'll have to see. It's really hard because even the most useless character, just by grace of the getting bonus by level, will do well. But yeah, it does seem like there's some interest in this topic, so maybe I will do that. I'll probably end up doing that after my How to Play Casters, since How to Play Marshals did so well. So I'll do a video on how to play casters, and maybe I'll do how not to play. How about that? That sounds
how not to play your build. It's like, I'm gonna make the worst build possible. I want a character that like dies when they enter combat.
Yeah, right.
Like a character that's like just cannot do anything. I think that'd be a really fun video, and that'd be just entertaining to watch.
Yeah, we'll have to see for sure. Yeah. I think that'll be an interesting one, and that sounds cool. I'd be into it. Might try it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it does sound like everyone really wants to try this, so we'll do a lot of very fun meme videos when it comes to that kind of stuff as well. And yeah, but you know, as far as like the OGL and the ORC and all that kind of stuff, the OGL is something that's still going to be around no matter what we say. It's still going to be causing people problems, and for one D&D, whatever that turns out to be, it's going to be a nuisance, because as much as, you know, as much as some system agnostic stuff is great for people who do still love D&D and Forgotten Realms and everything like that, this is still a sticking point. We gotta remember that this is still not all great, despite, you know, everyone else kind of like move and ship or going to a system agnostic version of D&D 5e. In the end, you still won't be able to touch things like the Forgotten Realms or many of the IPs of D&D that are not revocable. You know, they're copyrights that you cannot infringe upon. Yeah. So man, now that we're talking about the worst character ever, everyone's just pitching their terrible character ideas.
Yeah.
Kind of great.
Just imagine like unintelligent wizard, nothing, and then like a combat happens, and I'm like, wizard, cast something. I got to speak with plants.
Right.
Why did you take that? I thought it'd be useful.
I will. It will be a challenge. I will make the objectively worst character build of all time.
I have a feeling that would be a banger video. I would 100% watch that. That sounds super fun.
Yeah. We'll see. I was planning on putting out this week the video for how to play spellcasters, but that video might be replaced with OGL and the new orc in the room, talking about the OGL, and I might do like a I probably won't clip this particular table talk, and instead I will just make a much more concise rehashed version of what's going on in a more concise video.
Makes sense.
10-minute video. I'll probably post that like tomorrow, because I think that's more prudent. I think that's more valuable to the channel, and we'll get back to Pathfinder stuff hopefully next week without too much in the way of OGL getting in the way. And I think with this whole orc business, I think now it's just a wait and see game of what comes out officially.
Yeah, I'd say so, because I really hope it works out, because if everything goes through and everything like actually functions and does what they want. Because another cool thing about it is that they specifically said the OGC would be in the hands of a separate third party. It's not controlled by Paizo, or like it's not controlled by a company that'd be profiting off of publishing, which is a good move. So if everything works out as it is, I think it could do some serious good, and that's very cool of them to do. But I just hope everything works out. I do also hope that this doesn't happen to become like a court thing. I would, as much as Paizo says they're good to bat for everybody in court, I really hope they don't have to.
Yeah, of course. We don't want Paizo being overly affected because they're trying to be our champion, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We don't want them to sacrifice themselves and what they've done to make it better for everyone else. We still want Pathfinder 2e content and everything like that. And, you know, we're pushing for a better future. I think everything that's going on, I think as stressful as it has been for a lot of people who love D&D 5e, I do think everything that's happened has been for the best of tabletop in general. You still all have my sympathy, and we are here to chat and to do our best way we can for you. There are many content creators out there like Cobalt Press that are working to make sure that the game that you love you'll still have access to, and you'll still get updates to in their own way. And it's only ever a good thing when a massive corporation kind of buckles under its own weight.
Yeah, and then everyone else can like move in. Yeah, it's hopefully everything turns out great. But also like I also think it's very funny that we kind of called that, like, 5e's gonna crumble soon.
Yeah,
if we had a conversation.
If Critical Role comes out saying that they're going to switch to Pathfinder, my god. They would lose a lot of money, though, so I don't expect that to happen. But
nah, if anything, they might make some, like, oh yeah, we have our own little system we're doing. It's not 5e, but wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to, like, switch. However, I will say, Matthew Mercer does support the backlash against the OGL. He's on board. Apparently, also, he really likes the articles that were heavily criticizing the OGL, the original Gizmodo.
I don't know. As of right now, Critical Role has not made any official statements.
Nope.
Either.
Nothing.
So, we cannot say that for sure. Whatever he likes on Twitter, be that as he may, they have still not made any official announcements. And it was reported that their Reddit was bashing any, or not bashing, but like closing down anything talking about the OGL. So
Yeah.
We all need to understand that, you know, Dimension 20 and Critical Role have a lot when it comes financially in stake to D&D and what's going on. And I'm sure they have always been huge supporters of the community, and you know, I'm sure they're doing their best they can to make everyone happy. But it can be hard, and who knows what contracts they've signed.
Yeah, and they also got to keep the lights on.
Thing.
Like, they're trying to make money.
So, you know, we have to have understanding and know that Matt is a huge nerd like everyone else. He has shown repeatedly over and over and over that he is just like anyone else when it comes to things like tabletop. I empathize a lot with Matt Mercer because I feel like he and I are very similar people when it comes to our love for the hobby in general. And we'll see what official stuff they can even do. Again, we don't know what kind of contracts that they have access to or are currently signed under, and they might not be able to talk about it because of NDAs. So
yeah,
you know, it's something that legally it might not even be within their power to do anything at the moment. So, you know, Jeff, I'm not appreciating a lot of your comments, honestly. Seems overly negative for no reason. Well, you want to start the pod, go ahead. I'm just going to disavow it right here, though. Yeah, technically, Definix is right. 10 is the minimum for intelligence for wizards, at least, because you can get to 8 with the optional ability flaw, but wizard class gives you a boost automatically. So 10 would be the lowest for a wizard, which is still bad when your whole class is based on DCs and saves, and a lot of the stuff is very like, and not only that, but something about casters, as we mentioned as well, is that casters are a step behind when it comes to like their bonuses because of how powerful their effects are, and because even when enemies succeed checks, they often get bad things anyway. So yeah.
I mean, still, like, a wizard with like a nothing modifier is still pretty bad.
That's true, Dev Phoenix. A buffy wizard is still potentially really strong. I feel like a very it's very hard to do casters poorly because I mean, I just based on spell choices. In fact, wizard's probably not even the best choice because they can just write down whatever spells they need, so they could just shift if they need to. I think making a bad sorcerer would be a better way to go, because sorcerers, they get what spells they got, you know. They don't get really, they can't go out and read a book or whatever, unless I guess they take that one mental evolution that allows them to have a spell book, essentially.
That they like specifically go into that. Otherwise, yeah, you just gotta, what you got's what you got.
I would even say like a divine sorcerer that has only spells that affect evil creatures or something like that. Because then if they ever come up against neutral creatures, they just don't do anything. Literally useless.
A bad bard would be really funny. It's just a bard. It's that's just one of the assassination targets in Skyrim. It's a bard that just is really bad at performing music.
Yeah, like I said, I will go through and I will make the objectively worst character I can, and then if it gets a lot of views, then I will go back and I'll make a character for the other type of character. If, for instance, I chose a martial or a caster or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that's there's a lot when it comes to everything that's been going on. My thoughts have kind of gotten a little muddled, but we got some fun content here. If you want a place where tabletop is all here respected and you know, people of all types can come, this will be the place. We'll do videos on all kinds of tabletop as well. If you want your hardcore games, we'll have hardcore game content. If you want your light content, we'll do light content. Tabletop is tabletop. I enjoy it thoroughly. And it's like video games. Sometimes you want a very hard Dark Souls-less kind of game. Sometimes you just want a silly, like, easy game. Like, I don't know. I don't play a lot of easy games.
Turnip Boy commits tax evasion.
Like Castle Crashers, or like the racing games, or
Castle Crashers is competitive as fuck, though.
That's fair. How about, what was it, Human Falls Flat?
That's fair.
That's another, like, simple. I mean, to be fair, that can be a little bit of a hard puzzle game sometimes.
Because it's a wonky physics experience too.
But it's really funny. And to be fair, any game can be turned competitive when you look at Deep Rock Galactic. Fuck yeah, I love Deep Rock Galactic. God damn, more of that. I love that game.
It's a great time. I do love me, like, turning weird stuff competitive. It's fun.
Yeah. And it's the fun of it, you know? And that's why it's just, when it comes to tabletop, people just need to stop looking at it from a singular lens. Tabletop isn't what it was 20 years ago when we had a handful of games. Tabletop isn't just the thing for the nerds, you know, in the room. It's casual. There's a lot more casual players now, and there should be. You want your hobby to do more? You want your hobby to become more, you know, full? You need players of all varieties. Years ago, I played a wizard that specialized in counterspelling. The DM threw a dwarf wielding a two-hander in every game since I wouldn't let his magic work. I can see that.
Sounds like some typical DM behavior.
Paranoia! Paranoia is such a fun game. I absolutely love Paranoia. You play, it's kind of like, imagine a Fallout shelter, right?
Oh, wait, is it like the 50s aesthetic one?
Yeah, it's
game.
It's the 50s aesthetic, like anti-communist game, which it was the joke was it was all super communist.
Yeah.
Where you had to deal with friend computer and you were playing troubleshooters who had to go around and deal with the many wonky facilities in the game. And there's even a version of the game called Zap, where the objective was to get your person killed as quickly as possible.
That's not a good time.
It's a really fun game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was just gonna, I'll say, and same, Pep. That's all I want. Solidarity, fist bump for that.
For what? I missed it.
Want a game with good narrative story to tell with others.
Exactly. Just want a game with good narrative story to tell with others. I mean, that's why we're excited for Vampire the Masquerade.
Exactly.
Because like, if there's anything I'm good at, it's like deep narratives that have a level of complexity that you can't like easily access, but you can explore thoroughly through just social interactions. And in fact, if y'all check out the special we had on the channel, the what was it called? Actually, it might not be in the live section. It's probably
the VTM one.
No, the one we did for Anima Beyond Fantasy.
Oh,
the Rosencrantz arc.
Yeah,
the Rosencrantz arc was really good.
That shit was great.
I invented a whole city, all because my fiance kept asking me questions about her ancestry over and over, And so I just improv made a whole city, and the politics in it were really, really fun.
It was
the
an
political
absolute
intrigue.
blast.
We got it. Disco Elysium, but not sure that'd do well as a Let's Play. I think Disco Elysium could do well as a Let's Play if you just cut it down to like a lot of the dialogue in the game.
With some editing, actually, I also say that Disco Elysium could work more as a Twitch stream because as the choice Twitch integration.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it does. Where people
crazy.
can vote on what choices to make. So then it's just like Twitch is playing as Harry, which
That does
honestly
make
is
utter
more
sense.
fitting. That's
Yeah.
completely in character.
If anything, that's more canon to how the game should be played.
Yeah. Like that'd be a great time. Also extra funny because the character I played in our VTM game and I will be playing in the future, I am just playing Disco Elysium but in VTM.
It's true.
Because he's a Malkavian investigator.
But tabletop isn't what it was 20 years ago. It's not just a hobby for people who are, all about the number crunching, all about the meat grinders, all about whatever. It's expanded, and if anyone sees that as a bad thing, they don't deserve. It's not they don't deserve. They shouldn't be here. This is not the content for them.
I don't trust people who are against more people playing the thing they like.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, right, it goes both ways. I'm also not for the people who think that tabletop is only about just the narrative experience and forget the rules and everything like that. Like,
yeah.
Don't gatekeep on either end of the spectrum. New age, Olgar, whatever.
No,
let people
everyone
play
should
the
come
games they
in.
want to play.
Everyone should come in, play what they want to play, enjoy what they want to play, not shame the others. However, I will still say my opinion of I don't see the fun in that style, but
Yeah,
good for you.
You're free to say, hey, that's not for me. That's all on you.
Yeah.
I need my numbers too. Trust me. I love games that have a good amount of rules because I think that it really adds to the experience. It brings value to a lot of things. But again, if people like the looser systems, I'm totally for that too. I think Vampire the Masquerade is a good example of a game that's really not that heavy on the number side of things. And I still thoroughly love how Vampire works.
Yeah, because isn't it it's just a success-failure system, right?
Well, yes, they do have skill points or like stat numbers and everything like that. But like how a lot of the abilities work are a lot more vague. And if like the target's a human, they're almost like 100% victim to whatever you do to them anyway. And it's a lot. If I was to put it on the narrative game scale and put Pathfinder like somewhere in like the upper part of game or lower part of game, it's more on like the opposite side when it comes to narrative. Like it's cut back a little bit on the rules, but has very, very strong narrative elements. But I enjoy all styles. I really do like Vampire the Masquerade, but I also really like games like Pathfinder. And well, I don't like games that get a little too crunchy with the numbers, where the numbers, like first edition Pathfinder, I didn't like as much because you had to hard focus on what you wanted your character to do, or you would just be bad at it.
Yeah, I mean,
and so like you pick up a feat that gives you a +1, but if you didn't pick up other feats that followed along suit with it, that +1 meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah. I have yet to play Pathfinder 1E. I've had it explained by Mark Seifter, and it seems like a trip. And if it's anything like Starfinder, I wouldn't be a fan of it. I wasn't a fan of Starfinder and like its system at all.
I think Starfinder was a better than first edition, but yeah, I would play Pathfinder 2E. I think if they made a Starfinder with 2E rules, I would love that infinitely more.
Oh, I'd play the shit out of that. I like the ideas of it. It's just I don't like the rules of Starfinder, but I really like the world they made. And a lot of the classes are dope. Or that one that changes between like black holes and like the sun or
the
whatever.
Solarian. Oh my god.
The Solarian's so
cool.
hype. That is like one of the coolest classes I've read through.
IMO, the best system would appeal to both completely. There's no such thing because they're just different kinds of people. It's like having someone who plays Call of Duty for a living go and start playing like point and click adventure games, right? They're just two different things.
Yeah.
If you think your optimal system is a game that is a solid mix between both and both, then we're the same, because I think that would be a lot more of what I would like personally.
Yeah,
what do I like about 2E over 1E? Your choices matter a lot more when it comes to your feat choices. You get more choices for feats overall. And I feel like it's easier to make more valuable characters than it is in 1E. But people like the fact that they have to work out spreadsheets to get an optimal character, and that's completely fair. That's completely for them.
That's the thing that always like turned me away from Pathfinder, like ever trying it until 2E came out. Was people saying like, "Oh, Pathfinder's the coolest," and I'm like, "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, you gotta have like spreadsheets for your characters," and I'm like, "Ew."
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like people who love making broken characters in tabletop. They are the people who like that kind of stuff. They like searching through and making a completely optimal character. Yeah. Doing the math until something makes a broken character, because that's validating for them. That means, oh, I got so good at the numbers, I made a broken. So Anima Beyond Fantasy is like that.
Yeah, it is.
Anima is like, there's so many ways where you can make super optimal character builds in that game that, like, I know from firsthand experience what that kind of playstyle is like. It's not for me. I think a story and a narrative is more interesting when characters are dynamic and flawed.
Lancer's cool like that, though. Or no, Anima. Anima's like, it does it, but it's like cool about it.
It's not. You're delusional.
Yes, but
yes, I am factually wrong.
I know that I'm wrong, right. But I'm still correct, and I believe it. That's just table talk, though, dog.
Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I said, me not liking a game does not mean you cannot like game. You can play game. You can like game, right?
Huh? But you're the YouTube man.
My reasons for not liking a game that you like should never be an indicator of why you should like or not like that game.
Now you tell me.
Yeah, right. Oh, because we had such similar interests before.
Yeah. We see eye to eye on so many things.
And Dead Phoenix, you know what? Same. I also. It's like I've been playing Wrath of the Righteous, and I don't make a super optimal character by that rule set, and it shows, and it doesn't feel great.
That was the problem. When I restarted, when I first played it, I played as a like dual weapon like fighter like barbarian thing that then went into Hell Knight, and it was like very suboptimal. I replayed it and I made an Inquisitor instead. It is night and day. I'm cruising through these fights.
Yeah, Inquisitor's really good. I do love Inquisitor. If they bring another class to 2E, I hope it's an Inquisitor or an Inquisitor-like character, because I loved Inquisitor.
I really like I'm like an Inquisitor. Like I see the reasons why you like it so much. I fully have seen the light.
Yeah, but I mean, even back in the day when people made encounters, and the encounters for the game, they were tuned up a bit after people saw the kind of builds people were coming out with. So, oh well, yeah, there you go. And penultimate, like I said, you enjoy the game how you like. Don't take what I say about Pathfinder 1E as like it's objectively bad because it doesn't do those same things. It's why I prefer and what I think Pathfinder 2E does better. But I know a lot of people who do prefer that little bit harder, kind of more like they like sifting through the system to find the gold nuggets of good builds. And I think that's rewarding for them, and that's great. And if I was more of a number cruncher, that would be the thing for me too, but I'm not. I prefer a heavy investment of narrative mixed in with my gaming. And I gotta say, my best gaming experiences have still existed only in Anima Beyond Fantasy.
Yeah.
And if that being the case, you could have a good time in any game system, let me tell you.
You can. Oh, also, like, I'll say, like, Wrath of the Righteous absolutely rules. I love that game. I think Owlcat games, absolutely slaps. I think I'd be way more into Wrath of the Righteous, though, if you use 2E rules.
Yeah, same.
I really like it, but it's like the 1E stuff is like a little, like, hold it back a little bit. Just for me. And honestly, like, from what I know, granted, surface level, I would 100% tell someone to play 2E over 1E, like, if they're just starting out tabletop.
I would say that, too. As someone who's done both, I would say 2E is a lot more beginner-friendly than 1E is. Not that 1E can't be, and I think this is something that a lot of people like to throw out, is that, I think 1E can be good for new players. I feel like as a player is progressing through the game, like increasing their system knowledge and everything like that, 2E is more rewarding for that for a newer player than 1E is, because 1E you can do beginner modules, you can do I know a variety of adventures that are really not that hard tunes, where you can pretty much play any kind of character you want to and get by. And honestly, a lot of things that people loved about 1E was the sheer, oh my goodness, the sheer number of like classes that the game offers, because they had a lot of the Blood Rager, you know, they had a lot of like mixed classes, like the Slayer, right? They pretty much took a hybrid version of each class and made it in its own class. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really fun. There's very rewarding. We did play a little bit of Pathfinder First Edition. I think we even have some of that on the channel, some old videos, maybe. I don't even know. It wasn't well done. I want to watch those videos. But where we were doing it before we got into D&D 5e. And so as far as the new player experience is concerned, I feel like 2E is just a smoother ride to a level of proficiency where they can feel good about the game than 1E, which is a little bit more like, okay, now you know what feats you have to take. It's also just more restrictive in that way as well. Not that you can't do fun things, but you have to know the system intimately well to do the really fun things with that system.
I think at the very least, the thing that I prefer over 2E, and this is based off my own personal experience, so people might differ, but I remember back in the day when you first invited me to like a public play Pathfinder 2E thing, because I was in town. I found Path Builder on my phone's like app store, and I just started looking at the characters, seeing what they could do, and I kind of clicked with it pretty quickly. I found some classes I liked, some that I would then later learn to like, but I created a monk as my first character, and I had a pretty good time with him. I thought it was a great time. It was a fun session. It was fun, like, rules. It was a very basic monk character, granted. There wasn't anything complex about him, but it was just a monk. And that's something I recommend to people when they're like, I want to try out Pathfinder. And to friends where I'm like, hey, you should try Pathfinder 2E. Here's the thing to do. Get Path Builder and just fuck around. Just see what things you can do. And I think it's a lot easier of a start in that way. I feel more like cool giving a new player a tool and being like, play around. You'll click with it pretty quickly. Because at the very least, it's just fun to make a character in 2E. It's the only time I've ever enjoyed character like creation and builds is like 2E stuff.
I forget where I saw this, but there's some graphs of like system mastery when it comes to like 1E, 2E, and D&D 5e, and it's like the D&D 5e is like this graph where it starts off, and it's a very slow very slow curve, and then it goes all the way up. Like at the end of the graph, it's like super high. Where like Pathfinder 2E is, it goes very sharp up and then it plateaus.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really get any harder. And then Pathfinder 1E was a game that just went up and up and up and up and up and up, and just was a pure 45-degree angle, right triangle. Because it's just how it is, right? Is D&D 5e gets more complex and is arguably the most complex of the three when you get to a level of mastery where you're just trying to do things and there's just no rules, so you have to make up new rules. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of good companion rules to base certain rulings off of, so sometimes you're flying completely by the seat of your pants. Pathfinder 2e is so regulated and so like well designed that once you get it, and you don't really need to work that hard at it anymore. Now, whether that plateau is a slightly above your player learning curve is a different story. I've met some people who still struggle with Pathfinder 2e, and they've been playing it for years. So, you know, like it's on an individual basis, but for the most part, if you understand 2e, you can do really, really well. In fact, if you check out any of my builds I have on the channel here, you can see that they're very much not optimized towards damage or anything. Some of the funnest builds and some of the best builds I've done so far were builds that were very interesting, that could allow you to do more things, and were still proficient enough to feel like they did enough in a game set.
Yeah.
So, and then Pathfinder 1E was a game that was like a treasure chest, right? Or it was like sifting for gold. It's you have to sift through a lot, but the more you dig into Pathfinder 1E, the more nuggets you find, the more cool things you find, and you can theorycraft, build, and do a lot of stuff that makes 1E very rewarding, because it's the exploration aspect of looking into it that makes it rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I see why that's fun for people. Don't get me wrong. I see why that system is rewarding, and I see why people are so insistent on how the old games were designed being superior, because they were games that were constantly rewarding based on your efforts. But people don't want effort when it comes to tabletop sometimes. People want to come in and play casually, and they should. You know? If you have a game that you're constantly finding treasure in and you're constantly being rewarded playing, that's a good game. Don't let me tell you otherwise. But if you think that the way you play is the only objectively right way to play, then we just disagree on a fundamental level. Like I said, Blades in the Dark, I was excited to play, but when I played it, I found the system lacking. Other people absolutely love it, and I can see why.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad game. I think its setting is great. I think that our one-shot wasn't the fairest look at what makes it really fun, because there's a lot of the narrative aspects that go into it. But that's one of the reasons why I've decided to start taking more deep dives into tabletops instead. And while it's slower and we're not producing as many games for people to try out here on the channel, we are providing enough material here on the channel for people to start getting into a game if they get interested in it. And I think that's a better way to go.
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, it's at the end of the day too, taste is everything. It's the fascinating thing in my eyes about the just human mind, that one person's like absolute favorite beloved thing is another person's absolutely like least favorite thing. Well, I can stand out here and be like, Animal Beyond Fantasy is the best tabletop game to ever exist. There's someone out here saying it's badly designed and any other sort of slander. Or, you know, for all the reasons we say we like Pathfinder 2e, someone's like, oh, those are the same reasons I hate it. And it's like,
cool, interesting,
cool. As long as you can deliver that opinion in a way that's not annoying as shit, good on you.
Yeah, I mean,
feel about it.
Like the guy who was in here earlier, just constantly making hostile comments all the time.
Yeah, that's weird.
This is not the space for that.
No, we're cool. We're chill.
There are channels out there for that, though, so go ahead. Have fun.
Yeah, go to the streams where they're just
thumbs up, but
like jerking off over how bad the new games are.
Yeah,
have fun with that.
If someone's gonna like, and don't be that guy, right? Don't be that person who comes in and constantly makes a hostile environment for people in any space, whether it's a chat room, whether it's a blog post, whatever, and just constantly saying that kind of stuff. You don't like it, cool. Go somewhere else and do that. You know, I'm not here to try to push people out. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to push people out, but I want to make sure that the people who are here are enjoying their time, because I care about you guys. I care about what you want to see, want to hear, and making interesting content for all of you, and validating as many ways of playing as possible. I think that person's way of playing the game is not wrong. I think he can enjoy the game how he wants to enjoy it. Just don't come in here and start, you know, trying to start a fire everywhere. That's not the way. Not the way. We're all tabletop players in the end. We all enjoy the same hobby. Just let us do it in our own way. It's like video games. It's like someone who's just like, if you're not playing Call of Duty, you're playing wrong. Or oh goodness, what's that game the kids play? If you're not playing Fortnite, you're objectively wrong because it's the most played game out there.
Fortnite is out, old man. We're all playing Valorant.
I still think Fortnite is still doing really, really well. I still think it's the top.
I think Valorant
is
doing a lot better.
I think like the new thing, but I think Fortnite's still doing better.
Yeah. Maybe. It also reminds me, not to bring like last stream was, bring up Smash Bros stuff. But it's actually, there was a small hubbub because one of the top players for Melee was like, I don't know if it's just because all I play is like Smash and like Mario Kart, but like, why do all these new games look exactly the same?
Right.
That's the problem there. You only play a certain type of game, and a thing doesn't interest you. You're just making a lump assumption. Or how people are like, man, there's just no like really good like story single player story experiences. Like, please just look at indie games. Just try out an indie game one time.
Yeah. And Panda, I mean, I think you're right, but I think that's what makes the hobby great. It's a double-edged sword, you know?
Yeah.
People do take this seriously. I take this incredibly seriously. I've sat here, how many times, if I had a nickel for every time I've sat here on stream and like spilled my heart out for how much I want to make tabletop better and my passion for it, I would be I could buy a Big Mac probably. We haven't streamed that many times, but like I've done it enough where, you know, a nickel would still buy me something.
It's the sad part. It's especially prevalent in 40K, and it's a thing I'm taking some strides to like try to make sure that like I am not in. Because I will say, like, a genuine worry and fear of mine is like one day in my YouTube thing, it'll say a lot of your viewers also watch this, and there's like a set of like 2 or 3 names in 40K that I desperately never want to be associated with because I hate them. Because they're pieces of shit and they're awful people. But so I'm like taking strides to make sure if anyone looks at my stuff, they're like the people I don't want to interact with in 40K, the ones who are like gatekeeping is good actually. The statement that Games Workshop made where they don't condone Nazism is bad. I don't want to talk to those people. Those people are weird and gross. So I'm doing my best to make sure they know that like this ain't a space for you.
Yeah, and that's true. And that is very, very important to mention. As much as I'm an advocate for all types of players, I am not an advocate for hate anything.
It's there's I think a comic about it, the paradox of tolerance is like you can be tolerant, but don't be so tolerant you tolerate hate speech.
Yeah.
That's too far. You need to discriminate against some opinions to be tolerant, and not those are hateful ones.
I will never condone games or players who are overtly racist in some form or fashion. Yeah. And a variety of other topics as well that we don't need to get into here. No. But there is good gatekeeping. Yeah, it's like the thing of like, it's like you can have a small bit of poison and be okay. It's all about moderation, right? And conversely, you can drink too much water and die of water poisoning. You can work out too much to the point of death. Yeah,
exactly. It's the thing. I've been active on Twitter trying to push for it to just be like just please never interact with my stuff because I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to hit in like a few months. There's going to be whatever show they announce, they actually get like an actual announcement, everyone's going on about gatekeeping 'cause it's already kind of starting. People are like, Henry Cavill's getting new people into the hobby. This is bad. And no, it's the people that are worried about new people coming in, seeing this pocket of the community. Why are people just okay with that? That's gross. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that is gross. Get them out of here. That's what they're scared of. They're scared of people seeing the shit they're up to. It's weird. Happened in Star Wars too. It's weird. I'm scared about it. And I also am saying that I do hope that it does not happen too much in like that Pathfinder. It kind of already is with like 1E, 2Es, but I hope it doesn't escalate.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? It's always just going to be there. And the more things come out, the more people will be outspoken about it. Especially because, it's like I sympathize as well. A lot of these people, the grognards as they call themselves, existed in a time when people vilified them for playing D&D, where they were mocked for it, where no one understood their hobby. The satanic panic, there's the nerd culture and bashing nerds and everything like that. And it was only in the last decade or two that it started becoming cool to be a nerd.
Yeah.
And now the thing that they were like ostracized for is now open to everyone, and they're like, you didn't deserve this. You don't deserve to be in this space. You didn't go through the things that I went through. Like, I honestly understand that mentality, because when you hurt someone enough, eventually they become jaded. It's still not deserved by anyone who's new coming into it, and it's still something that it's trauma that we need to be conscious of, but we need to not allow to rule the space.
Nah. Also, I will say penultimate, which also, welcome to the stream, by the way. Cool seeing you here. I will say I've never run into it in person. It's always terminally online people. It's always people that are just online and talking that shit, and they've never went to an actual store and hung out with people. Because every single 40K nerd I meet in real life is very cool.
Yeah,
and understands this is a game, and this game is a satire of fascism and stuff. We're not actually into it. That's the difference. And then you talk to people online, they're like, yeah, that's why I like the Imperium so much. You're like, okay, this is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree a lot, because I'm very very casual. I'm more casual in Warhammer than Alex is in tabletop in general.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. I am very, very invested in 40K. But when you just talk shop with a person in a store, they're very cool and normal.
Yeah. And that's the experience I've seen, is the community, the in-person community versus the online community of Warhammer are as different as night and day. Online Warhammer communities are as dystopian as the setting that they find themselves in.
Yeah. Yeah.
In person, it's a bunch of guys being like, hey, look at my orc. I gave him a little squig with an additional hair squig. And another guy's sitting there like, oh my god, you're so good at painting. And geeking out over something like that. And that's, that's what it is. And tabletop, go ahead.
It's as a very good friend of mine puts it. He consistently makes this joke around me when I talk about 40K. He references a scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin where the main character he's like, I have many hobbies. I have many fulfilling hobbies. And it cuts to him in his little hobby room and now I'm going to paint your silver pants blue. That is what 40K is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hey, Gwil, welcome. We're almost done here, unfortunately, so you're catching us towards the end. But glad you're here. Yeah. We do tabletop every week, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.-ish Pacific Standard Time. So you can check us out every Thursday. But it's a thing, right, of... I think genuinely most of the tabletop community is pretty chill. I've never really run into problems, but the grognards is something I have run into more than I would like to, in both in person and out of person. Some game stores have very strong grognard feelings to it. And,
I've heard the stories you've told me of those. They don't sound fun.
Yeah. And there's a lot of elitism. even amongst GMs, which like should have the most solidarity of anyone. I remember I was talking to this guy at a convention, and I was like, oh yeah, I've been GMing for 20 years. I've stopped saying that, by the way, because I've learned that it only does bad things in the conversation. But I was like, I've been a GM for like 20 years because I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I've enjoyed GMing that much. And the guy's just like, come back and talk to me when you've done it for 40 years. And I was just like, dude, what do you expect? I'm in my 20s right now.
Like,
Like, I've been doing it most of my life. Is that not enough for you? Do you think someone needs an additional 20 years of experience to be that much better?
It's
like,
I don't,
and especially with the
like
grognards.
That
like,
is specifically such a like just talk to me like I'm a human being. Just please, like, just talk to me like normally. Because you could have very easily you're talking to someone and they're just like, oh yeah, I've been DMing for like 20 years. You go, oh nice, I've been doing it for this long. Immediate. Continue a conversation in a good way. Just be a fucking human being, please.
Maybe next time we'll talk about these stories.
That'd be fun. I'd love to hear more of them. I know some that you've encountered.
This is not the stream, I think, for talking about grognards, but maybe a later time, for sure. Because it's definitely, I think, with this new flushing of players into the open D&D, like where they're all going out to Prairie, all these new players going to look for new games, I think that'll be a more and more conversation. And thank you, Gwillem, that we'll be having is you're gonna run into assholes in anything you do. Literally, there's no job you can do you don't run into assholes. Literally impossible. I have people who comment just terrible comments on my videos who obviously didn't watch the video and just wanted to say something as negative as possible.
Yeah.
For a thing that is as opt-in as YouTube, where you can watch it or not watch it, and coming in, not even watching the video, and then commenting on it, yeah, they're just there to hate just to hate. And to be fair, the guy who I mentioned earlier who is here, I said, hey, I didn't appreciate it, and he left. He could have made a huge stink of it. He could have been way worse about it. He could have done a lot of things. I appreciate the fact that he just left it instead. Or at least stopped texting. If you're here, I appreciate you still. That's honestly not something you get a lot. There's reasonable people even in that camp. So, don't be afraid to tell someone, hey, you're going a little too far, being a little too hostile. And if they do make a big fuss of it, then they're not someone you should pay any attention to anyway. So I appreciate the fact that he just was like, okay, cool. Thumbs up and left. It's all good. I appreciate it, Panda. And honestly, you don't do YouTube for the comments.
Yeah. I'm happy I haven't gotten many of those yet. Keyword on yet. So far, it's just people being like, I disagree. Here's my perspective. I'm like, that is interesting. Here's my point. And I like those. I like it when if you come into a comment section, you're like, I don't fully agree. And I'm like, cool. I'm interested in why you don't agree. Because I am. As a person, I'm just I've always been very fascinated on like the idea of like people being like having opposite opinions. I'm really fascinated by it. You come in, you just insult somebody. Unless it's like a funny insult, like then I'm, not going for it.
I mean, that's fair too. I mean,
if your insult's really funny, I still have one of my favorite hate comments I've ever received, and it's fucking hilarious. I love it. Someone was making fun of me for how much I say like, and they said I sound like a testosterone-laced valley girl. I really like that insult.
Thanks for the follow, Bill.
Yeah, I also feel like it is an insult that is laced with a compliment, because I've never viewed myself as particularly like masculine. And someone's like, "Get so much testosterone." It's like, huh?
Well, thank you.
Thank you. I don't really view myself as very masculine, but like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, we come here with good humor, and at least here at Battle Gamer, we're here to make Tabletop a better place where we can. I'm not afraid to step up and try my best to keep things civil. And I want Tabletop to do better. And I think that we're in a good spot where Tabletop is in an era where it's going to start seeing a lot more people. Pathfinder's getting a lot more people. Hopefully games like Lancer's getting a lot more people. They said they were getting a lot more up searches for their stuff. And hopefully Vampire does as well. I want to sit there for all that. So like the videos, subscribe if you want. Talk about us on Twitter. Thank you, Penultimate, for the sub. I appreciate that. See, Alex talking about subs does work.
yeah.
I know you know.
I'm not happy about it, but I know.
I know, but still, it's like pure evidence.
Yeah, I don't like YouTuber stuff, but it works.
It works. And, I want to do a lot more, and we can only do a lot more if we get more traction. So, whatever you guys offer, even if it's a simple like, it does help. And same goes for Alex's channel. Alex, we're pretty much done here, so go ahead and plug yourself before we head out for today.
Howdy. I make 40k lore content. It's pretty cool, I'd say. I made a video on Conrad Kurz. I think it's pretty fun. It's also a really good video where it's I found out my style is me just trying to make my cameraman laugh. So a lot of that video, I'm specifically goading him and reacting to his reactions to Conrad Kurz. Also, secondary fun thing, you can hear my cat in that video. She's screaming because she's upset that I'm in my garage and not paying attention to her. Yeah, I got hit with a pretty nasty algorithm hit. So any interaction in that video is much appreciated, as YouTube thinks that I've quit the game entirely on their bot side. But yeah, if you're interested in 40k stuff, go check me out.
Hey, Red Comment, thanks for the sub. And you know me, or if you don't know me, I'm Bella Gamer. I do tabletop content. I do predominantly Pathfinder 2e, but we are making a shift to do more variety content. And we are working hard here to make sure that this space is as good as it can be for as many people as we can make it. And we will be having more videos. This is the channel. You like archetypes? This is the channel that has the most archetypes on all of YouTube. I promise you. I've checked. And it's not even by a small amount.
Somebody tried and they quit.
Multiple people have tried and quit. So we do all that. Be on the lookout. Next month, I'm going to try my best to get onto Treasure Vault to produce for you guys some item-based videos, since I know items in Pathfinder 2e is a very sorely needed subject. So we're going to be doing that. But in general, we're playing Lancer right now. I'm making Lancer videos. We'll be doing other videos in the future. We're also looking at making other variety content. Hopefully, it's a new year, so we'll be hopefully getting some other content creators, or someone in the field anyway. It doesn't even need to be just content creators to get here on Table Talk. We've had a few in the past which were pretty sick, like Mark Seifter himself, or the Rules Lawyer, and we even had the Rules Lord himself, one of the top mods on the Pathfinder 2e subreddit. So hopefully we get some more pretty big names on here as well. And I hope y'all enjoy the journey. Also, we have a Discord linked in the description. You can also find it linked beneath on the Twitch, where we have a pretty good sized community. We're at almost 150 people in the channel right now. We get people talking all the time, memes, games. People who are looking for games have been finding some good success with our finding games section. We also have a tabletop discussion for all tabletops and build. We have a lot of things. We also talk about Warhammer there. So, you want a fun place, check us out down in the description. And, oh, that would be good, huh? We need a link for Alex's channel. Yeah, you know what? I'll start doing that for the Table Talks. I'll put a link in for your channel in the Table Talks as well.
Nice of you. Yeah, because I have I just put one in the chat, but I'm also if you go to Cam's channel, it links back to mine, and mine does as well.
Yeah, but I do think as the co-host, you definitely deserve to have your channel plugged there as well. And hey, he's getting close. He's almost at 1,000, almost an official YouTube channel.
Almost.
So...
We'll see if this next video tips it over. I think it might. I think it's very fun. We'll see how much editing I have to do because I got word from my partner who's staying over while I was recording that they could hear me yelling about a subject. They could hear me yelling about a particular faction in 40K. So, and not in a great way. We'll see how much cutting down I have to do.
And I just saw a Slug's comment of Sir Elmer. Yeah. I love that title.
Yeah, there are very few times where I like the glue boy bits. That's one of them. Just referring to me in different
forms,
I guess,
of
ways.
Glue.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. It's better than the oh, you must sniff glue, huh? And I'm like, okay, I've heard that.
It's yes, first grader levels of insults.
Yeah, it's the thing I've yelled about a few times on Tabletop. The you're not original. It just look down one comment, see someone has said it. Please read the room, please. Oh, that's also something that's true. This show makes it very. At first you're like, oh, it's just Cam. Then it's like, who's this guy? Who's this guy just talking? Maybe someday I'll do a webcam thing, but I'm not as good on live streams with webcams.
That's fair, and that's a good point. Thank you, Hector. That's a very good point, and I didn't even think about that. So
me neither.
We're learning. Obviously, it's a new channel. We're only the channel is not a year old, but we've only been doing this somewhat professionally for a little over a year.
Yeah.
But
I've heard
anyway,
both of those jokes. I've heard already both of those so much.
I'm enjoying the chat too much. We do
it's
gotta
great.
go. So
yeah, we do.
Thank you all so much for being here. Good luck with your games. Leave the bad luck to me, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
Bye.